Aid sites in Gaza are now closed for 24 hours. The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation says it's closing the distribution sites to prepare and stage for the large crowds they've been seeing. The U.S.-backed aid group also tells ABC News they're asking the IDF to improve safety measures and training after two mass casualty events near the sites in the last 3 days. Let's bring in ABC News Chief Foreign Correspondent Ian Pannell for more on this. Ian, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation is working with Israeli Defense Forces to distribute this aid. So what is the group really asking the IDF to do here to try to ensure the safety of civilians?
Yeah, Diane, I mean, first of all, let's just rewind, because we've been hearing repeatedly from the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, this US-backed non-profit, as well as the Israeli Defense Forces, that everything's going well. But clearly it wasn't, because we had these two terrible mass casualty events. Whatever the disputes over the numbers of people injured, exactly what happened, clearly there were huge problems with the delivery of aid through this new system, which was basically set up to try and bypass the traditional aid providers like the United Nations. The Israeli government has long contested that Hamas uses and abuses the traditional aid delivery system, and this was a way of controlling it themselves. But it was problematic at the very least. It led to a number of deaths, a number of people injured, scenes of chaos, and it wasn't just the two incidents over the last few days. There have been further incidents. Yesterday, the International Committee for the Red Cross was talking about 5 events in which people had lost their lives there. So they decided to close down operations. This came kind of late yesterday after another terrible day for Gazans in particular, but also for these organizations in terms of PR. And so what they're looking for from the IDF is a better organized system. Now, I think part of the problem is that you've still got thousands, tens of thousands of people having to travel by foot across Gaza through designated routes, but it's an active war zone. These are highly dangerous areas, and people are having to travel at night because the aid sites open at 0500 in the morning. So that means you've got to travel in the dark to get there, and that obviously increases the chances of something going tragically wrong. So what they really want from the IDF is a means to secure the safe passage of people, but also at the same time the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation essentially acknowledging they didn't expect as many people to be hungry. And again, I think the traditional aid providers will say, why not? I mean, we've been reporting repeatedly, you have, Diane, all of us have been reporting repeatedly on the suffering inside Gaza, in particular in terms of food insecurity. Quarter of the population facing catastrophic hunger. So, of course, anybody who's able to move was going to head to these sites to try and get this aid delivered. So they need a better system. They've talked about opening aid centers in the north of Gaza, where most people are based. 24 hours seems a bit of a stretch to try and sort this out, but we'll see.
And Ian, how are people in Gaza reacting to these shootings and the reaction from the IDF and now these aid groups as well?
Yeah, it's a really good question, because I think for Gazans, and we saw this, we had a cameraman working for ABC News, working inside Nasser Hospital as those casualties were being brought in, as well as the bodies. And what you see there, of course, is considerable amounts of grief, but also anger. There was one young girl whose mother had gone to get food aid for her and her brother, and the rest of the family and the children had stayed behind, and she was beside herself with grief, but also righteous indignation about what had happened. All her mother had gone to do was to try and get a bag of flour, and she came back instead in a body bag. So people are angry, and this foments further anger inside Gaza towards the Israeli Defense Forces, towards this new aid organization. And if you're trying to bring an end to the conflict in Gaza, one might say this is the wrong way to go about it.
All right, Ian Pannell in Jerusalem, thank you.